Right. Good morning, everyone. All the online students, is it the screen is visible? All the online students, could you please everyone respond in the chat window? I request all the online students need to respond in the chat window. Okay, right. Perfect, guys. Let's continue then. Okay. So the one we have been discussing about these particular programming concepts here as part of that particular perspective of programming concepts we have been started in understanding this particular type scripting. As part of this particular type scripting, first we understood the very basic program, that is what we will be taking with printing with the statement. And after that, we have been discussing about that particular variable keywords. And then we got understand that the one you will be taking with printing with the statement, and then you will be taking with variable keywords. After that, we got understand about class, and then discussing about method, and then we got object. Continued with the same, we got understand that particular data types and variables. In the same way, we got understand that particular static methods. That is what we need to be get understand what exactly mean by that particular static method and how exactly these particular static methods came into the picture. Same that while working this particular printing with the statement, you got mentioned the console.log. And then considering that particular variable keywords, that particular variable keywords, you will mention that constant and then taking with the let, and then you will be taking with var. Then you will be taking with this particular respective class, mentioning that which has been used to write a program. If you want to be get write in a program, you will be taking with the help of class. In the same way, you will be taking with method. So that particular method, you will be mentioning that which has been used to perform an action. If you want to be get perform an action, you will be taking with method. Then you will be taking with object. That particular object, you will be mentioning that to access methods. To access methods. Then you will be taking with that particular respective of data types and variables. So data types and variables, we mentioned that to represent the data. Okay. To represent with the data, or you will be taking with define the data. So for the purpose of representing with the data and defining with the data, we got this particular concept of data types and variables. Okay. So this is how we need to be get work with these particular concepts. Continued with the same, we need to be get work with that particular static methods. If I go with these particular static methods, what exactly the meaning of static methods and how exactly we can work with these particular static methods. See that. First understanding, the very first understanding, we can mention that if I go with this particular perspective of static method, which we can consider that it will be taking with, we can mention that using the keyword of static. Using the keyword of static, it will be considered static methods. In the same way, we can mention that static methods are accessible by using class name. Static methods are accessible by using class name. No need of to create an object. No need of to create an object. So this is what our first understanding. If I just consider that particular respective static methods, if I just consider that particular static methods, we can say that using the keyword of static, we can mention that we can consider using the keyword of static. That static methods are accessible by using class name. No need of to create an object. Previously, we understand that if we want to be get access any method, if we want to be get access any method, you need to create an object. But particularly working with the static methods, you doesn't require to create any object here. Okay, let's see that. Let's look into this. Now, let's go with in more detailed of these particular concepts, how exactly we can work with all these particular things. See the concept here. First, we got a concept of methods. If I go with methods, as we already mentioned, we got methods are two types. If I go with these particular methods, we can say that methods are two types here. That particular two types of methods mention that predefined. If I go with that particular methods, we can mention that it will be taking with that particular predefined methods. In the same way, it will be taking with user defined. We got that particular predefined and then it will be taking with user defined. These particular predefined mention that defined by the language. Defined by the language. If I go with these particular predefined, we can mention that defined by the language. In the same way, it will be mentioned that defined by the user. These particular user defined, we can mention that defined by the user. Okay. So two types of methods we got it. One, it will be mentioning that predefined and it will be saying that user defined. If I go with these particular respective predefined, mention that defined by the language. User defined, mention that defined by the user. This concept is very clear. Now, continued with the same. These particular methods, it can be predefined, it can be user defined. It can be predefined or it can be user defined. We got two types. Don't be confused at all, guys. Predefined divided into two types. User defined again divided into two types. That particular two types, let's see here. If I just go with that particular two types, mention that you will be taking with static methods, which you will be taking with that particular static methods. Then you will be taking with these particular non-static. One you will be taking with static methods and then taking with non-static methods. If I go with these particular aspects of static methods, if I go with these particular aspects of static methods, we can say that we can mention these particular static methods, we can consider that using the keyword of static, which are already written. The static methods is using the keyword of static. Access by using class name. No need of to create an object. No need of to create an object. You will be taking with static and then you will be mentioning that method name and then colon taking with the void. You will open that, you will be writing that particular statements and then taking with close. So this is, you will be mentioning that, you will be taking with static methods. So if I go with that particular static methods, we can mention that using with the keyword of static. Static methods accessible by using class name. Static methods are accessible by using class name. No need of to create an object. No need of to create an object. In the same way, you will be taking with these particular non-static methods. You will be taking with non-static methods. If I go with non-static methods, right. If I go with non-static methods, we can mention no keyword of static. No keyword of static. Access by using object, or still you can mention access by using object. This is, you will be taking with method name and then colon, then you will go with this particular void, you will open that and then you will be taking with the statements, then you will be taking with close. So in this way, we can go with in utilizing these particular statements here. I mean, as part of that particular requirement, we can utilize these particular things here. As part of it, the requirement, we need to be get go with in utilizing with other things here. So we got two types of methods, that is predefined, user defined. Again, predefined also divided into two types here, which it will be taking with that particular static methods and then it will be taking with non-static method. So static method, it will be using with the keyword of static. Non-static method, there is no keyword of static. You can access by using object. This is what it will be considered. In the same way, In the same way, again, these things also, these particular things also divided into two types here. These particular things also again divided into that particular two types here. If I'm just taking with that particular two types. So here this is we can mention that it will be taking with argument with arguments, and then you will be taking without arguments. We can call as a arguments, or we can call as a variable variable or we can call as a parameter. So here if I just go with this particular one, let's see that. So now you will be taking with that particular method name. You will be mentioning that you will be taking with A comma B. Thus you will be taking void, and then you will be taking with that particular statements, and you will close it. And here you will be taking with void, and then you will open this. You will be taking with statements, and then you will close it. Okay. So this is what all the concepts you need to understand related to these particular respective of methods. Okay. Now you can see here. So don't be confused at all, guys. Understand the concept here. We got predefined method. The predefined method we can consider static method, non-static method. Again, the same predefined we can consider with argument, without arguments. And the same static we can consider with argument, without argument. Non-static with argument, without argument. So everything we got its own types here as part of that particular program requirement. Right. So as part of this particular requirement, we need to be get understand. This is without argument. Just a minute. So this is which you will be mentioning that without arguments. When you say that without arguments, right. See here. So with arguments, when we say that with arguments, you will be passing in arguments like A comma B as an example. Without arguments, just only method name will be there, brackets will be available. So this is what you will be taking it. For now, you are trying to get understand predefined, user defined, static method, non-static method. Going forward, in future sessions, in the coming session, you will understand that with arguments and then taking without arguments here. See the whole conclusion, guys. All the online students also don't be confused at all. The concept is very straightforward. You are working the concept of method. While working that particular method, you will be taking with predefined method, user defined method. That particular method you got in a two types here. That particular two types you will be taking with static method, then you will be taking with non-static method. That particular static and non-static also divided into two types here, with argument and then taking without argument here. So this is how it will be taking with these particular respective steps here. So in this way, we need to go with in working with these particular respective methods here. Previously, we are already done with that particular predefined. If I go with that particular respective or predefined, which we can consider that and it will be taking with console.log. If I go with that particular respective of console.log, we can consider it is in a predefined method here. Okay, let's see that. If I go with this particular programming 77 batch. So here we are already working with the statement of console.log. This is considered as a predefined method. I mean, log is a predefined method. M2, M1, M2, M3, we can consider that user defined methods. Now, continued with the same thing, we need to understand these particular static methods. Let's see here. I'm just creating this particular new file. Example underscore static dot ts. I'm just taking with the same program what we are already written. I'm just taking with that particular same program what we have been already written. See the program. First we got created with the class. Inside of the class we got M1 method, M2 method, M3 method. Then we created that particular object and we are calling that particular respective method. First, let me execute with the program up to this particular step. Let me execute with the program up to this particular step. Now we can see here, it will mention that TSX, it will be taking with the file name example underscore, it will be taking with static.ts. So that it will be taking with executing that particular program. M1 executed, M2 executed, M3 executed. Okay. Now, I can see here. If I just go with this particular one, these are, I can consider that you will be taking with non-static methods because there is no keyword of static. As we have not mentioned the keyword of static, by default, it will consider as a non-static methods. Now, that particular non-static. So here, access by using object. Access by using object. So non-static methods you are accessing by using object. Now I'm creating static method. I'm just creating static method. Static method, we are using the keyword. What is the keyword? Static. We are using the keyword that will be taking with static and then mentioning that it will be taking with that particular M4. Method name can be anything. Method name can be anything. We are using with the keyword of that particular static. Then it will be taking with that particular word. Then it will go with in printing with the statement M4 executed. Here I will be mentioning that static method executed. Okay. Now you can see if I want to get execute static method in case of that particular static method access by using class name. If you want, you can cross check that. I'm taking with the object dot. Do you have method name of M4? M1, M2, M3. We return the method of M4. In the program, M4 method is available, but that is a static method. Static method we cannot access by using object. By using object, we can access only non-static methods. Okay. Now, with the help of that particular class name, I will be just taking with class name. With the help of that particular respective of class name, it will be able taking with the dot, we got a method name of only M4, M1, M2, M3 not available. It has been given a access of only that particular M4 method. So this is how you will be taking with static methods. Now we can see here, if I'm executing this particular program, you will be able to see that static method also executed. That means the concept you guys need to be get understand is whenever you are doing with the programming as part of that particular programming requirement, we can work with static methods, we can work with non-static methods. Non-static methods are accessible by using object only. So non-static methods are accessible by using object only. But static methods are accessible with the help of class name here. So going forward, as a programmer, as part of that particular requirement, we have to understand that in using that particular static methods, or it will be taking with that particular respective of non-static methods. So in this way, you need to be get go with in utilizing these particular statements here. So this is how we need to be get comfortable in doing that particular respective programming. So just continue all these particular practice. Every program I will be uploading in that particular respective Google Drive, and along with that it will be uploaded in that particular PDF file also. Day to day, whatever the programs we are discussing, every program has been available in that particular respective PDF file also. For example, today we have been discussed about that particular static method, like which I will be taking with the methods. Along with that particular methods, we got that particular static methods. You will be able to see all that particular respective program. So every program available. So static methods here. So every program available in your Google Drive, and along with that it will be available in your respective PDF file. Now, if we look into the methods, see the terminologies. We got predefined method, user defined method, static method, non-static method, with arguments, without arguments. Continued on the same thing. Continued on the same thing. We got one more special method. That is what we can write with the heading. Mention that constructor and make a note of this particular description. Just write with the main heading what is constructor and make a note of this particular description. Online students also. All the online students also, you can write with the description up to that particular highlighted one. Just continue up to that particular highlighted one. Example is not required, guys. Just continue that particular description up to that particular highlighted one. Okay, right. So let's understand what exactly mean by this particular constructor and how exactly it will be working. So the slight difference will be there when you compare with that particular Java programming. When you compare with the Java programming, the slight difference will be there while working this particular TypeScript. While working this particular TypeScript, we can say that it's a special method. It's a special method which is automatically executed when object when object reference is created. Okay. If I go with this particular respective constructor, if I go with this particular respective constructor, we can say that it's a special method which is automatically which is automatically executed when object reference is created. So this is what I will be taking constructor. Whenever you are comparing that particular Java programming, there is a concept of class name, constructor name should be the same. But in TypeScript, we don't have all that particular things here. As simple, we can understand that it is in a special method. Constructor is in a special method which is automatically getting executed. Okay. Let's see that how exactly it will be working. If I go with this particular thing, so how exactly this particular constructor is working? Now, if we look into the methods, predefined method, user defined method, static method, non-static method, with argument, without argument, and then taking with constructor. So these many things are available while doing that particular programming. Now let's see that how exactly we can continue. We will be taking with new file. Mention the example underscore. We will be taking with constructor.ts. Okay. So now let's see that. First, we will be creating one particular class, mentioning the example underscore. We will be taking with that particular constructor. Now, first, what we are doing is I'm writing one particular method. For easy understanding, I'm just writing with the method mentioned that M1 executed. Now see the concept. All the online students, please be very clear. I'm executing the program. TSX providing the file name example underscore we will be taking with constant dot ts. If I'm executing the program, do we got any result? Why it is not printing any result? Online students, we executed the program, but it is not printing any result. Why it is not printing any result? object is not created. Let me create an object. Let me create an object. I will be taking with, let, it will be taking with that particular perspective of, it will be creating that particular perspective of object. Okay. Now I will execute the program. I created object. I'll execute the program. See the result. Any result? Why it is not giving any result? I created object. So we created the object and then executed the program. If you want, let me execute once again. But still, it is not giving the result. Understand the concept here. While working our regular methods, you created the method, you created object. But to get that result, it's mandatory that you have to call that method. It's mandatory that you need to call that particular method. Then only you will be taking with, you will be able to get executed. But the same thing, let me try constructor. Now you can understand the difference here. I created object. I'm executing with the program, but that method is not executed. Let me try the method of the constructor. Right. So I'm just taking with that particular constructor. Now I will execute the program. Understand the difference. Understand with the difference here. See that constructor executed. So which I will be saying that, it will be mentioning that, it will be taking with that particular one constructor executed. That means the functionality of the constructor is, we can say that it is a special method. Specifically, you doesn't require to call that method. You doesn't require to call that particular method. Whenever object reference has been created, whenever object reference has been created, automatically that method will execute. For example, I'll just make any comments of this. Now I'll run the program. See here, there is no result. Without having the object, even constructor also not executed. It's mandatory that that particular object need to be created. It's mandatory that object need to be created. So now if I'm just taking with this particular one, constructor executed. Only constructor is executed. M1 method is not executed. To execute that particular M1 method, we will be taking with calling that method. You need to call that particular method, then you will be able to see both the results are printed. Constructor executed, M1 executed. So both the methods has been getting printed. So that is what you will be taking with this particular step, mentioning that these two statements here. Send this way, we need to be get go with and mentioning that working with this particular respective of methods. As part of that particular respective requirement, we need to be get utilized all the required options here. For now, I'm just making you comfortable with the concepts wise, like what is class, what is object, what is predefined method, what is user defined method. Concepts wise, in you need to be get more comfortable. Once I got and comfortable with all these things, slowly all these particular concepts you will be getting started applying in the playwright. Then you will get in a more clear picture why we are learning all these particular concepts. Our main target, playwright, playwright we want to make more easy. To make that particular playwright is more easy, first at any cost, we need to be get comfortable with these concepts here. So that is what you guys need to be get continued that particular regular practice here. So if we just look into these things here, we got this particular constructor. Okay. And then take with the another new heading, mention the access modifiers. Or you can consider that you will be taking with specifiers. Right. So we can consider that access modifiers, or we can consider that these particular access specifiers. So while working this particular programming, while working this particular TypeScript also, we got a concept. While working TypeScript also, we got a concept of taking with access modifiers and then taking with access specifiers. That is what make a note of that. The one it will be taking with public, and then it will be taking with private, and then it will be taking with protected. So one it can mention public and then taking with that particular private and then protected. Mention that public. We can say that accessible, accessible anywhere, anywhere in the program, anywhere in the program or project. So in that particular program or in that particular project, accessible and then private, mentioning that accessible within a class, accessible within a class, mention that protected, accessible within a class and its subclass, within a class and its subclass. So we got only these three here. In case of that particular Java programming, we got other options also. But while working this particular TypeScript, while working this particular TypeScript, we got three options here. One is public, another one private, another one protected. Public accessible anywhere in the program. Public is accessible anywhere in the program. Private accessible within a class. Private is accessible within a class. Protected, we can mention that accessible within a class and then taking with that particular subclass here. That is what you will be taking with in utilizing these particular options here. As part of that particular requirement, we can go with in utilizing these particular access modifier. Let's see that how exactly it will be working. And then, okay, you can understand that by default, it will consider, by default, it will consider public access modifier. By default, it will consider public access modifier. That means if you have not mentioned, if you have not mentioned any of access modifier, if you have not mentioned any of, okay, if you have not mentioned any of access modifier, it will be considered as a that particular respective of this particular public. Okay, let's see that how we can write it. Let's understand these access modifiers here. Okay, first we will be creating that particular file, taking with new file. Mention that example mentioning that these particular access modifiers here, which it will be taking with access modifier dot ps. Okay. Now, if I just go with this particular one, if I just go with this particular one, first I will be creating that particular class and then taking with example. Now, in this particular class, see that first I'm taking with public. Then I will be taking with institute name. I'm just taking with public that particular institute name. I'm just providing that particular name considering the Suresh IT Academy. Then I will be taking with private. So which I will be taking with the private, taking with area. So that particular area, I will be mentioning that Amirpet. Okay. Then I will be taking with protected. That I will be taking with the city, consider as a string. Now you can easily get understand that the way of we have been using these particular terminologies. First, we got an institute name. In general, institute name is like totally public. Anyone will be knowing it. That private area, are available in only in Amirpet. So which has been restricted to that particular Amirpet. So and then which we are available in that particular respective of city, which it will be taking with that particular respective of hybrid here. So this is what it will be taking with these particular respective steps, which it will be mentioning that it will be taking with access modifier. We got an a public and we got an a private, and then it will be taking with protected. Now you can see here, I'm just writing one particular method. I'm just writing one particular method. Otherwise, I'll be just taking with the method mentioning the Suresh IT. Okay. And then I will be calling these particular methods. I'm calling the institute name and then area and then city. As we are already knowing it, defining outside of the method, defining outside of the method, consider as a what type of variables? Instance variables. Defining outside of the method, we can consider as a instance variable. Instance variables are accessible by using this keyword. Instance variables are accessible by using this particular keyword. Okay, done. Now we need to execute that particular program. It will be creating that particular object, which I will be taking with, it will be providing that particular object. Now you can see here, understand the concept here. If I just go with public, first I'm calling institute name. So that particular institute name is public. Anywhere it has been accessible. So it has been accessible in anywhere. If I just go with this particular public, it will be mentioning that it will be taking with, it will be having this particular step accessible in anywhere here. Okay. So that it will be mentioning that it will be taking with these steps here. Okay. And then it will be taking with this particular respective void. So here, this private restricted only for that particular class only, not even outside of the class, giving an error. Inside of the class, I am able to access it, but outside of the class, it will give an error. even protected outside of the class, it will be giving an error. So this is what your understanding, which you will be taking with public and then taking with private and then you will be taking with that particular protected here. So don't be confused at all. So just understand these particular terminologies. It will be more easy here. As simple, we can mention that it will be taking with public accessible anywhere, private restricted, I mean within a class, protected within a class, and its subclass only. For now, we have not created any subclass. What is mean by subclass? You will understand in the coming sessions here. Let's see that. Now, if I'm executing this particular program, you will be taking with TSX mentioning that example underscore, you will be taking with this particular access here. So that TS, you will be able to print that particular statement which we are able to go with only public. So this is how you will be taking with these particular statements here. So in this way, we can go with and utilizing this particular concept of access modifier. In case if you are not mentioning any of the access modifier, by default, it will be considered it is in a public. By default, it will be considered it is in a public. So in this way, we can go with and utilizing these concepts here. And I can see that slowly we got lot of concepts, we got it, printing the statement, variable keywords, and then class, and then method, and then object, data types and variables, static methods, constructor, and then access modifiers and specifiers. Continued with the same. Next, we need to be get understanded another concept, that is what? Just we can write with the new heading, mention the conditions and loops. So while working that particular TypeScript, while working that particular TypeScript, how exactly we can go with that particular conditions and loops? What are all that particular conditions? What are all that particular loops are there? That is what we need to be get understand. So that will take tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll be discussing about how we can go with different type of conditions and which we will be taking with the loops. After that, we need to discuss about arrays. Lot of concepts need to understand. Step by step, you will be understanding the concepts, but according to that, you need to take with the practice. According to that, you need to be get take with the practice. So please continue the practice. You can utilize offline lab or you can utilize online lab, but please make sure that you will be taking with proper practice. If you are not doing with the regular practice, it will make a question mark, guys. So please go with in doing that particular regular practice here. So tomorrow I will be continued with this particular condition and loops here. Okay? Clear everyone? Right. So take care about the practice. Meet you tomorrow then. Thank you. Online students having the questions, you can carry on your questions.
Welcome to Empty Music World. Bluetooth mode.
Right. Online students having the questions, you can carry on your questions.
Hi, sir. Naresh this side.
Yes, Naresh. Yeah, carry on.
Sir, in the syntax of with arguments under the static method, There is no need to mention static keyword, sir, in the.
Oh, that will be there. So
Okay.
whenever you are taking with the static, it will be there. It will be by default, it will be applicable here.
Okay, here you didn't mention, so I got confused like before the method name.
So I want to consider with the both, so that is the reason I have been. But as simple, if you are working with the static means always that particular static keyword has to be available here. Okay.
Okay, sir. And also in
Okay.
the constructor program, sir, can you please
Hmm.
once open the constructor program?
Hmm.
Yes, sir. In the same constructor, can't we mention the M1 method also in one constructor?
This is a constructor. Inside of the constructor, you cannot write M1 method.
Oh,
So
okay,
this
sir.
is method, right? Inside of the method, you cannot go with the one more method. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes, please. Um, my question is, what is the difference between variable, any type variable and undefined variable? I mean, when do we use any and when do we use undefined?
Undefined means assume that you doesn't know what kind of data you will be getting as a output. So then you will be mentioning as a undefined. Any means assume that you will be knowing what kind of data you will get it, and that data is having a mix of numbers and the string. Then you will be taking with that particular any data type here. Okay.
I mean, both are resulting same undefined. So, yeah, go. And just explain
No,
me 1 second, sir. 1 second.
any means you know the data, what kind of data is available, you will be knowing that, but you have in a mix of that particular integer, I mean number data
So
type, and
data
then
types are
that,
different.
uh,
Okay, okay. Yeah.
so then you will be using that particular any. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Uh,
Um,
okay, sir. Now I got it.
Next.
Hi, Suresh. I have one question. So,
Yeah.
the method name while calling, no, I mean, is it not case sensitive?
No,
Here,
whatever the method you are already mentioned. So while writing with the program, if you're given capital letter also, it will accept it, but always it is adjustable that to go with the small letters as a method names. Okay.
yeah, similarly, class name also, there we mentioned as
Yes.
exp underscore const, but while calling, we tsxe capital we used, still it worked.
Yeah, here it will work it. So while executing, whether it is capital, it is small, it will accept it. Yes.
Okay.
So here don't be confused at all. We are not giving with the class name. We are giving with the file name. While executing with the program, we are not providing the class name. We
Oh,
are providing the file name. Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. Fine.
Here there is no rule of class name and file name should be similar.
No, we don't have. In Java, we got that concept, but here there is no such kind of concept here. It
Okay.
can be, it will accept it.
Constructor also, there is no name, just only keyword you are using.
The name itself, you need to write constructor only. We will not provide again name of the constructor.
If there is any, this is a default constructor. If is there any concept like parameterized constructor?
We can write it. So for this constructor, we can pass the argument that can be applicable.
So
That
that
can be.
is, while executing parameter constructor, it's considered with parameters only.
Yes, it will consider. Now for that particular constructor, it will be expecting that particular two parameters here. See that?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Right.
So here constructor, so it is explicitly we are defining the constructor. So
Correct.
do we have inbuilt or default constructor?
This is what your default constructor. We cannot go with our own things, right? Now we can say if I write in a constructor one. So now
Then it
if
will be
I
a method.
That is what we are clearly saying, right? So this one is in a constructor, is in a special method. Now we can say as written constructor one, it is not printing that constructor executed. It will consider as a method. It will not consider as a constructor. If I mention the name itself constructor, then it will be considered it is in a constructor. here.
Okay. Like Java, we will not have any default constructor.
Right, right.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
right. Yeah. All right, guys. Please take care about the practice. Please spend with the more time into the practice, guys. Yeah. Thank you.